Hello and welcome back to my training vlogs. We are finally done with deload week, and I was gonna spend this video talking about how much I absolutely freaking hate deload weeks, but I actually came in today feeling super strong, and I believe that's due to my deload. Refreshing my nervous system, giving it a rest, and considering how fatigued I was after last training cycle, I really think this deload did what it was supposed to do. But we all know that deloads suck, and I felt what I can only describe as abstinence from training. I felt my mental state starting to decline, as well as my restlessness going up. And what I started doing at last, like the last 3 or 4 days of this week, was just some GPP training, doing some circuits of body weight movements and some really high reps on some curls and skull crushers for my joint health. And I'll probably film one of those sessions because I think I'm gonna keep doing it in the mornings. It's only like a 15-minute workout that I do. But I think that's gonna be good for my general fitness, and it's gonna keep my joints healthy, hopefully, because I do experience some joint pain, especially when I bench press. So hopefully I will be able to film that maybe this week or maybe next week. But today we worked up to a single at 130 kilograms, which you can see here. And that's only 90% of my training max for this training cycle. So you would expect it to go up pretty easily, but this went up super easily. It felt like 80% and not 90%. So that's a good sign. I think we got stronger from our last training cycle, and that's always nice. But we followed that up with 5 sets of 5 at 80% of that training max, and today that was at 105 kilograms. And I started playing around a little bit with the camera angles here. So in this angle you can see about how wide my stance is when I squat. And as you can see, it's pretty wide considering my height and everything. And the reason why I choose a wider stance is that, first of all, it allows me to hit depth without my back caving at the bottom, which is usually a problem for me when I use a more narrow stance. But it's also the position that I choose where I hit parallel right at that point where I bounce back up, having that stretch reflex. And because I want to compete someday, I think that's a good stance to choose, because it's where I'm gonna maximize my potential strength for the squat. And as you can see here, I still hit depth with a lot to spare. I think I'm like at least 2 inches below parallel here. So I might even widen my stance more. But this stance feels really strong and stable for me. So I think I will keep it at least for this training cycle and maybe in the next one. But when I start to reprogram my training a little bit, I'll consider changing my stance a bit as well. For the work up to the training max that I did today, I started off at 80% for 5 reps and then 85% for 3 reps, and then that single at 90%. And that's a bit different from what I did last week, where you saw me just doing 3 singles at 90%, 95%, and 100%. And that's because of the way I program. For these 2 first weeks, I will do sort of a 5-3-1 split, where I start at 5 reps then go up 5% and do 3 reps, and then go up 5% and do 1 rep. And the next week I will do the same thing, but I'll start at 85% for 5 reps. And I'll move on to 90% for 3 reps, and then I'll do a single at 95%. And then at my 3rd week, which is the final week, I'll only do 3 singles at 90%, 95%, and then at last 100% of that training max. I can see here when reviewing this footage especially that I might want to widen my grip a bit on the bar when I squat, because I have a hard time to keep my elbows tucked when I squat. And as you can see here on the top, they really flare out, which is not a problem as long as I'm not actually squatting with the bar. But as you can see, I really struggle to keep them in here, and it's especially with the right elbow that you can see that on. And I think that's actually due to a minor injury I had in my shoulder a couple of weeks ago when I accidentally popped the shoulder joint out of its pocket, and it popped right back, so it wasn't like a huge issue. And I'm almost pain-free now, but I have noticed some reduced mobility in my right shoulder after that, so it might be due to that. But next time I squat, I might actually try to widen my grip a little bit. After squats, we moved on to some deficit deadlifts off of a 2-inch weight, I believe. And we did 3 sets of 5 with 127.5 kilograms. And what I did for this accessory lift to my deadlift is that I actually program it like a static progression, where I will use the same weight for this entire training cycle, and then I'll bump it up for the next training cycle. So my last training cycle, I did the same amount of reps and sets, but with 2.5 kilos less. And I might actually bump it up 2.5 kilos more next week, because it felt pretty easy doing this. But I might also just keep it static depending on how fatigued I feel next week. But everything went up really well, and I'm using straps for all of my volume work for deadlifts, because it at least feels like I'm recovering a bit faster when I use straps. My hands aren't as sore. And it also allows me to load my back more evenly, which I don't really know how much of a difference it makes whether you use a mixed grip or use straps or a hook grip or whatever. But it feels a bit better to do most of my volume work with an overhand grip, because there's just less risk of an imbalance or whatever in my back. But I think that was it for today. And I hope you've enjoyed this training vlog. And I'll probably see you tomorrow. All right, thank you for watching.